So the idea before you arrived of you got Miami being the last team in an NCAA tournament would have been unimaginable before your arrival. Have you thought at all this week, Jim, just through the prism of how improbable that would have seemed about Miami and not a North Carolina, Virginia blue blood being left, but Miami being the last ACC team?
Well, the success we're enjoying now is really what we envisioned when we came. We wanted to build a program that could develop tradition, meaning that our players do a great job in school, they graduate, they're great representatives of the U, but also play great basketball in a great conference like the ACC, and represent us on the court like the university wants its students to represent them. We're one of the top 50 schools in the country. We want to be one of the top basketball programs in the country, like our football program has done, like our baseball program has done. So right now, we're experiencing some of the success that we envisioned, but the real challenge for any coach is consistency. Just like the real challenge for players is the ability to consistently play at a high level, and our guys have proven that throughout the season. That's why we won the regular season championship, why so many of our players are getting recognized nationally.
Tell us about Houston. How do you guys match up, you think? I mean, they're a team, I think they're kind of a slower paced team.
Well, one of the things about the University of Houston is when we play in the ACC, we kind of play against all different kinds of teams. The teams that I concern myself with are always these very tall teams, like Duke that has 7-footers, Wake Forest that has 7-footers, Virginia that has 7-footers. So we don't match up great with those teams, so we have to develop a style that can allow us to compete with that kind of size. The difference is Houston's much more like a mirror image of us size-wise. They're not overly tall, but what they are is thicker. They outweigh us probably at every position except Norshad's. And so what that means is the physicality of the game is going to be very important. How we handle the physicalness of the Houston defense and also the great skills of their offensive players, especially when I look at them, their three guards are tremendous. Shed, Sasser, and Mark all have incredible skills to score the ball.
You look at Poplar and think this is a guy who's so improved and has probably even another big step with how athletic he is. What's intriguing about his skill set and what's allowed him to be so improved this year?
Yeah, well, I hope Luka Pop is going to be available for us to have him in our lineup on Friday. He hasn't practiced since his injury in the game against Indiana. But Wooger's a very, very talented young man in many regards. He has developed to become a fantastic defensive player. He's the guy that shut down Tucker DeVries in the Drake game. He's also someone that had some incredible rebounds against Indiana, including the one that ended up being his injury. He's a terrific free throw shooter. In fact, he shot 97% in practice on the free throw line this year. And we record free throws every single day. Every player has to shoot 25, and we record how many they make. And he shot 97%. That's the highest I've ever had in my career. He's also a terrific three-point shooter. He's an excellent straight-line driver. And I've really encouraged him to focus on becoming an incredible 15-foot jump shooter. Shoot from mid-range. Because once he adds that to his game, he's going to be unstoppable.
Isaiah obviously kind of got held in check a bit by Drake in the first round, then had a great game the other day. Have you seen him kind of carry that energy from, against Indiana and then coming into the Sweet 16 game?
Well, Isaiah Wong, since he came here, he's just a tremendous competitor. He's not going to play great every single game. No one does. But Isaiah he rises to the occasion. He's done that throughout his career. Against Drake, I know he was disappointed in the way he played. Went 1 for 10 from the field, and that's uncharacteristic. So he bounced back and scored 27 points against Indiana and kind of dominated the second half. He and Jordan Miller Jordan had 19, and I forget how many he had in the second half, but the two of them were really unguardable, and hopefully that can continue because their confidence is very high right now.
Jim, can you talk about the success of the men's program? Overall, having the women in the Sweet 16 too, there are only 4 schools right now that have both teams. What does it mean for basketball in Miami, college basketball, to have both the men and the women make the Sweet 16?
Well, just take a look around and see who's here today to interview me and Katie, and just know that this exposure is tremendous for us. Not only as a basketball program, but as an athletic department and as a university. And we are very, very grateful for the support we get from our administration, the leaders of the university, and also from our athletic director, Dan Radakovich, and the department. Because without the resources that we have, without the progress that we're making, none of this is possible. We really are very, very fortunate. This is a great place to live. It's a great place to work. It's a great university to represent. So I'm very, very excited for Katie and her team and wish them nothing but the best of luck coming up in their game, and certainly very excited about us being in the Sweet 16 for the second year in a row, and looking forward to playing the University of Houston, who's perhaps the number 1 team in the country.
Hey Jim, just knowing Houston's skill set in the backcourt and all that, how important is it that Wooga is able to play in this game for you guys?
Yeah, I'd love to have him. When Norshad got hurt against Duke, I was really praying that he might be able to bounce back, and he did. And I think with him, we were able to advance. If Wooger is healthy, he'll certainly be in the starting lineup. If he's not, then someone else has to step forward. Bensley Joseph is playing very well. Harlan Beverly is playing very well. But it has to always be a total team effort. We've got a very good front court. I mentioned their backcourt. They've got 2 studs up front. Walker and Roberts are tremendous players. Walker, I understand, is probably one and done. And Roberts is a handful inside. So if Wooga's not there, we need everybody to pick it up and make up for his absence.
Can you talk about Bensley a little bit? I mean, he's really played a real critical role, especially toward the end of this season.
Yeah, Bensley Joseph is one of those guys who has the unique ability to put a lot of pressure on the basketball. Some guys can guard you, but he puts a lot of pressure on you. And we're going to need that. He could end up guarding Shed. He could guard Sasser because he has the ability to defend multiple guys. And that allows us as a staff to put him in with Nigel, because he can guard either guard, or he can play with Zay, because he can guard either guard. At the offensive end, he is a very, very good spot-up three-point shooter. His catch-and-shoot threes, he shoots at a very high level. He's a good ball handler, a good free throw shooter, and he rebounds. He had 5 rebounds, I think, against Drake. So he's a key player for us.
Coach, could you compare this time last year going into Sweet 16 to this year's team? What are some of the differences and the similarities that you see?
Well, first of all, the real comparison would be in our game against Indiana, which compared very favorably with our game against Auburn. Both teams were big and physical inside. Auburn had 2 NBA players up front, and we were able to slow them down and ended up winning the game by 18. Indiana, very much the same way. We used our speed and quickness to try to control their big guys and ended up working. We won by 16. But when we advanced, we played Iowa State, who was an 11th seed. That's very different than playing the number 1 seed. We beat Iowa State. Then we played the number 1 seed, Kansas. And that became a real challenge for us because of their size and athletic ability. We were able to hold a 6-point lead at halftime, but they got us in serious foul trouble. We were never able to recover from that. Hopefully, we can stay out of foul trouble and continue to play high-level basketball against Houston.
Anything else, Coach Al?
Coach, I'm wondering, we don't speak all the time about Jordan Miller, but what do you think he has to do in this coming game that he did yesterday has to do differently versus Indiana?
Yeah, it's very easy for me to say what he has to do. He just has to be Jordan Miller, because he is a sensational player. I'm not sure I've ever coached another player that impacts the game in so many different ways. Offensively, defensively, he guarded Chase Jackson Davis for most of the second half. And then he scored at the rim. It's really hard against that kind of size to score at the basket. You know, we made some threes, we made some jump shots, but right at the rim, that's a real challenge. And Jordan was able to do it. Hopefully he'll be able to do it on Friday night.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Good luck.